I've done some sewing. I was busting to do that, and I've got the first version of a new pattern release to share with you today. Woven sewing, delicate details, you're gonna love it. Hi sewing friends, I'm Karina from liftingpinsandneedles.com. Welcome to this channel that is all about sewing, limitless sewing, and we actually have limitless sewing today. I am excited to share with you sewing because for the recent little bit I've been sharing with you visits to different fabric shops in different places of Europe, different cities. Thank you for your support on this different type of content, but we're back to classic content, sewing content that we love, and it's all about a new pattern released by Love Notions called Muse, and I have sewn 2 of them, and I'm so happy because the design is too cute for words. Look at the line out here. There are many options for you to choose from. So from the same pattern, you could make 10 different garments and it could look like a totally different pattern. It's so much value here. The common thing about this one is that it's a woven pull-on blouse. So you don't need zippers or buttons. You just pull it on over your head. The neckline is super cute, rounded here with a little V. That little V is finished with a facing on the inside, super neat. It's not a deep V, it's just a small little detail. And then around here, you have 2 options. One is a banded collar, similar to the one you see in the Presto tunic or the Palma dress. And then the other option is a little more delicate, and it's instead of the collar, you put a little ruffle in there all the way around. I think that is adorable. Love that. You can sew a straight version, just a regular A-line type of blouse, no extra details there, or you can sew a skirted version. The skirted version will have a separate bodice and then the skirt piece that is gathered onto there. It's designed to be above the waist. Depending on your bodice length and your height, 2 or 3 inches above the waist. Highly customizable. At least when I heard that it was above the bust, I knew, at least for me, I always knew I was going to adapt this to be at my waist because that's what I prefer, and it's a simple adjustment. There's a basta here, right here on the sides. Love that for us. Sleeves, you can do a short little sleeve, just a regular sleeve, a longer one with a casing. And then the other cool one is sort of regular up to here, but then it has a separate tee right here, and then it's got extra volume with a casing and elastic. So lots of options. This is easy to hack into a dress as well. It just lengthens that skirt piece and voila, you have a dress. So there's so many things you can do here. Another option you can do has to do with the hem of the blouse. So it can be a little shorter, can also have a hem that will become a casing, and you can thread an elastic through and it'll just stay closer to your body around the mid or high hip, depends on how you want to wear it. So that is an option for the hem, or you can just do the regular hem. So you can see a billion options here. Because the Muse blouse is new at Love Notions, it's going to be 24% off through next Monday, the 16th of February. So if you like to get patterns for a little bit less, it's a good time. If you use my discount code that you'll find in the description box and at the top of the comment section, you can also get an extra 10% off even when there's a sale happening. So that's something nice for you. If you'd like to support the work that I do here on YouTube, you can use my affiliate link at no extra cost to you. I do receive a small commission back from Tammy. It supports everything I do here, creating all this helpful sewing content for you. It's one of the ways I make an income doing what I do. I'm super grateful if you use my link. Light to medium weight woven fabrics is what recommended. Depends on what you want in the look, whether you want a structured fabric or a flowy fabric. Structured fabric can be lightweight. It will just behave structured as it is. So there you have your 100% linen, your lightweight cottons, cotton lawn, poplin, sea-saka shirting, linen rayon blend, linen cotton blend, chambray. Could be extremely lightweight, but it will still behave like a structured fabric. It will be easy to sew. If you're sewing details here, like the gathered sleeves here on the bottom tee or the skirt, it will just be a little more voluminous. If you want a flowier look, then go for 100% rayon, the plain weave. Different types of weaves of rayon are amazing, like rayon crepe, rayon satin, a rayon linen blend, amazing, tencel, polyester, silk, go for it. It'll just flow beautifully. You need some fusible interfacing and some elastic to put into here, 3/8 of an inch. Let me show you my fabrics. It was so hard to choose, let me tell you. Let me show you my fabric choice for the first version, which is what you're going to see in this episode. For my second version, you're going to see that in the next episode here on the channel. I've chosen this 100% tana lawn cotton from Liberty. Very precious fabric, amazingly soft, super lightweight, fresh. Just the feel is amazing. And it's got a print sort of like buildings, windows, arches. I love it because it's sort of stripes, but not actually stripes. So because it's a light structured fabric, I'm going to use this one for the simple version. That's just a regular blouse, a regular body with a puff sleeve. and the collar stand. So that is my choice for that version. I think it's going to be amazing with jeans and other things. Very confident this is going to be nice. And I'm going to work on matching these stripe structures here on the sides at least. Sizing goes from extra small to 5X. It's got a standard bust and the full bust option. Both of these bust options will have a bust dart here. It's just that the full bust option is going to have a larger dart. Measure your high bust and your full bust. If it's 4 inches or more, go with the full bust option and you have an extra 2 inches around the bust. That translates also to the waist and hips for this design as well. It's nice and roomy. You're not going to be feeling uncomfortable. This is nothing tight. You're going to have around 4.5 to 6.5 inches of ease around the bust. The largest number you see here in the range is for the full bust option. For the waist, plenty of ease, plenty. Don't worry about the waist. For the hips, around 5 to 7. Now, this is in relation to the version that has a straight option without the skirt. If you have the bodice and the skirt underneath with the gathering around, you're going to have much more ease around the hips than that. I'm sewing a size large here that corresponds to my current measurements. What am I doing with my fitting? It's super easy, and I'm actually doing a different thing for the regular version that doesn't have the bodice and with the one that has a separate bodice and skirt, because I need different fitting adjustments there. For the simple version, all I'm doing is lowering that bust dart by 1.25 inches. That's very easy to do. I do that on 99% of all the patterns I ever sew that have a bust dart. It's just something I know I need. It was super easy for me to measure, cut out a little rectangle and drop the whole dart down. I'm happy with the total length of this. I don't want it any longer than this. I am a little bit taller than standard. I'm 5'8", so I am looking at length adjustments sometimes, but in this type of shirt where it's just A-line like this, there's no significant waist shaping. I don't think I need to make any length adjustments here. I'm doing a short sleeve, so I don't need to adjust that either. So that's simple. Now for the one with the bodice, I know that this is designed to be higher than the natural waist. I know I want mine at the natural waist, so I measured everything, and for it to be at my waist, I need 3 extra inches. So I know for the bodice, I need to lower that bust dart. So instead of just lowering the bust dart, I'm just going to add length above that dart in the same amount that I wanted to lower it, so 1.25 inches. And then towards the bottom of the bodice, there's a shorten and lengthen line, and that's where I'm going to add the rest. I'm showing you some graphics here so you can see what I'm doing. Very easy. That's how I get the 3 extra inches I need. Just part of it's down here. It achieves getting me extra length on the bodice and lowering that bust dart in one go. And then the rest is added down below. For the back, I did something similar just to not change the side seams shape. I also divided in 2 and added in 2 sections, and that is my bodice adjustment. I know now I'm going to be happy to have it at my waist, and then the gathers can come from below, and that's just a style that I prefer better than having it higher. So this is all personal preference. Remember, you can always bring up and down a little bit. In the end, you're going to wear the garment and you need to feel comfortable, and I know I feel comfortable with it at my waist. So that is my small pattern adjustment. Other than that, it was just that. I find it was very, very simple. For the sewing, we're using 3/8 seam allowance. I'm going to focus on the neckline. Today's episode is about the first version that I'm making, which is the regular blouse with no separate bodice. And I'm doing here the V-neckline with a facing, a little bit of extra steps that I'm doing just to create more structure. And we're doing the banded collar. I'm going to show you that in detail. In the next episode on the channel, I'm going to show you my second version, which is going to be completely different. In the second version, I'm going to do the ruffle neckline, which changes the sewing construction around here. So make sure you tune into the second. You don't want to miss out because it's amazing as well. This is the front facing that has the little slit right there. I'm actually not going to cut the little slit. I'm going to cut it at the end once I've sewn it. I'm going to mark it instead. And other than interfacing this piece, I want to interface the center, the main piece as well. So I've just folded this in half, folded this paper in half, traced around it, and then traced inside by 3/4 inch. So this is the piece I'm going to use to cut interfacing and fuse onto the main front so that that is stable as well. This is not the first time I interface the center front, the main, and not just the facing, especially on a little slit like this. And when you have light fabric, I think it just makes it stand up nicer and not drop. It's based on the main piece, but it's slightly smaller, so when you put your facing on top, this will never be seen. I've cut my front piece partially, and I've marked here the center, the top of the neckline, and a little line down the middle, and that's where I'm going to center my interfacing. So I've made a little mark on my interfacing as well. And I'm just going to stack my little lines on top of each other, and I know I've placed this in the right place. It doesn't have to be extremely accurate, but it's always nice to aim for accuracy. Here's the top of the front piece. I have already cut the rest, but this part I didn't cut because I wanted to fuse it first. So you can see that around the V section here, I have my interfacing. Now I'm not going to cut into that. I'm just going to leave it. You'll see what I mean when we actually get to sewing this. It will still have the V. It's just that I'm not cutting into it yet. Now I'm going to finish trimming that, and that'll be my front piece cut out. If you're doing the banded collar, then these are pieces you need. This is the front. This is the back. We're going to have a seam there. So these go there. And there's 2 layers of each. One interfaced, one isn't. I'm block fusing, so I have my interface layer on the top, non-interface layer on the bottom right there. Same for this one. For this little front, we need 4 of them. So 2 interface, 2 not interface. So I've got my little fabric here ready. Once I cut this out, I'm going to bring this pattern piece and cut out 2 there and pair them up. Front facing is for all the versions, whether you're doing the collar or the ruffle, you always need this one right here. You've seen the block fusing before. It's just a little bit of extra fabric and a little bit of interfacing. It's already been fused. And now I can just go ahead with my rotary cutter and cut it super accurately. And nothing has changed, nothing has deformed or shrunk. And it just gives you the nice accurate results you're looking for. Highly recommend. Here are the pieces for this version of the Muse. This is the one with the regular body, so it's just A-line. This is my front piece. I have a bust start there. I have interfaced the center area where the little slit is going to be. That is the facing for that. This is the back. It's on the fold. And this is the banded collar neckline option. This is the front collar right there. There's 2 pairs, so 4 pieces. And the back. The layer that you'll see on the outside, the outer layers are interfaced and the inner layers are not. Lots of sleeve options with the Muse, but for this one, I've decided to go with a wider sleeve that has gathers on the sleeve cap, and it's also going to have a casing here with elastic at the bottom. I think the lightweight cotton is really going to show that off, and it'll be a really nice feature. A woven neckline always needs stay stitching, so I'm going from the shoulder into the center, and I'm going to do the same thing for both the front and the back. That's just to keep it symmetrical. Remember, I didn't cut through my front little V, so I have a completed front. I'm going to cut through it later, so that's why I'm also stay stitching in 2 sections in the front. Straight stitch, regular stitch length, and I'm going under 3/8 seam allowance, which is what we're going to use later to sew in the collar and the facing. Okay, here's our little V. Now, if we cut into this and then cut our pattern piece, and then when we sew it, we're going to use 3/8 seam allowance. So our stitching line is actually going to be over here. It's going to be further away from the cut, 3/8. So that would be our stitching line. This would be deeper, coming down and then going up. That's where we would actually sew. So that's what I marked right here. I did draw the original line right there with a red friction pen and then drew out by 3/8. And this is going to be my actual stitching line right here. So I can see both. It's nice and neat. I'm going to place this on my neckline and sew right here, do that, and then after it's sewn, then I'm going to cut this out. Prevent stretching, gaping. I've done this many times when I have little V's, and I always love the result. And it's also easier to work with rather than having that little cut there. It's not there, we can cut it out later. I already serged the edges, it's all nice and neat. This is my neckline. This is the wrong side where I have the interfacing. I've got a pin in the center where I have my little line with a friction pen. I can see those pins here from this side, and that's how I'm going to center this right here. So I'm going to match my middle with my middle there. And same, I've got a point here that marks the middle, and I'm going to match it up with a pin that matches the middle on the bottom. So I know that I'm sewing this V centered. You see, I didn't need to mark anything on the main fabric. I just marked it on the facing. So I'm going to give this a quick hand basting, and then we're going to sew. Remember, I'm doing this on the outer edge. That is the seam line. And then I'm going to cut through, which is what you could have cut through from the beginning, but I'm going to cut it at a second stage. Okay, there we have it. All nice and neat. It's not going to move. I don't need pins. And so I'm going to sew on the outer line that I've drawn. When I'm sewing little shapes like this, it's helpful to have a shorter stitch length, especially at the pivot point. Okay, there you can clearly see my stitching, and now I'm going to cut the original cut line that you would have had in your pattern. I'm just cutting this later instead of cutting it before. So I'm cutting out my shape, but then I'm going to cut into the V. If you would have cut your main piece and your facing piece, it would look exactly the same. You would have still used that edge as a base for your 3/8 seam allowance, which is what I've got right here. So don't think that I did anything that's going to look different. It's going to look the same. It's just that I've cut it later after the seam instead of before the seam. I just prefer it that way. And now I'm going to cut down through the middle and get as close to the tip without cutting through it so that we can get a nice crisp V right there. I have the facing extended right here on one side, and I'm going to do a tad of understitching. So I've pushed all the seam allowance underneath the facing there, and now I'm just going to sew on the edge. I'm going to go close to the tip but not right to it. I'm going to stop a little before. Now after that V, I'm going to pick up and sew the rest of the facing. Same, I've got all the seam allowance tucked in underneath the facing, and I'm stitching right on the edge. Okay, so from the wrong side, the facing comes all the way to the inside. I'm going to go and press it, neaten it up, but look how neat that is. Super nice and crisp. While I'm at the iron, I'm going to hand baste this down flat, and then we top stitch, and then we can carry on doing the shoulder seams and the banded collar that comes there. I've got the red hand basting there. It's going to be super helpful. And now I'm just going to sew. I'm going to do it from the wrong side. It doesn't make much of a difference visually. I'm guiding myself through the inner edge of the serged area right there, and that will be fixing this in place. Basting thread can come flying off, and look how neat this is. Super flat, thread matches, so it's not something that is meant to be a highlight over here. It's just meant to blend in, and I love how that turned out. Now I'm just gonna sew the shoulder seams, sew and serge. Here are the collar pieces. This is the one that's going to be on the inside. It's not interfaced. These are the ones on the outside. These are interfaced. And I have just placed them together at the back, the two fronts, and I've sewn the little shoulder seams of this neckline for both of them. You didn't need to see that. It was just tiny seams at 3/8. So now I'm going to go over to the iron and press these seams open. I'm going to sew my collar on the reverse like I always do. So my outer layer, the one that's interfaced, I'm doing a guide stitch around the outer edge at 3/8 so I can fold that up and press it before I join the two layers together. Okay, there's my interface layer with the 3/8 seam allowance already pressed up all the way around, and underneath I have my non-interface layer. They're right sides together, matching up those little seams. And now we're going to sew this inner edge. That fold, I unfolded it, but I'm still not going to sew all through to the edge. I'm going to start sewing where the fold is. Here around the curve, I've cut off little notches. Got the little triangles down here. Just when you flip this, it's going to be less bulk around that curve. So I always do that. I'm going to do that over here as well. I've sewn it, cut those little notches around these rounded areas. I snipped all the way along, and then I pressed it, and now I have a collar unit. I'm going to take the side that hasn't been pressed, the non-interface side, and this is what I'm going to pin to the neckline. I've got the blouse wrong sides out. So this is the inside, the ugly part of the fabric. It's easy to tell. And that is where I pinned my collar and then hand basted it. So it's basically right side of the collar to the wrong side of the blouse. This is because I'm sewing it in reverse. Once this is sewn, let's pretend it's sewn. This is the right side of the blouse. That seam allowance goes up. This collar piece will cover it. And that's where we do the final top stitching on the right side of the blouse, where we can see what we're doing. And we don't need to worry about catching anything underneath because that seam is already done. That's why I like it on the reverse. And because this is so curved, I decided with hand basting it's going to be so much nicer. So on each of these ends, I've left the seam allowance hanging there. I'm going to start there 3/8 all the way around, get this sewn, and then do the final step, which is top stitching from the right side. If you do this with pins, it's so uncomfortable because this neckline and the collar is so curved. It's just hard to deal with. So hand basting, totally worth it. This is how my first version turned out. Liberty fabric, amazing. One of the first fabrics I bought here when I got to England. I bought this at the beginning of January. Super excited to visit the Liberty shop. I do have an episode sharing that experience. I will leave that link down below if you've missed out. This was a precious fabric and I managed to cut into it. So I'm so happy about that. Really nice. I mean, I love the print. It's mostly floral at Liberty, so I was so happy to find something that wasn't floral, which totally matches my vibes here. Check out the buildings. It's just really, really nice. And it's got subtle stripe features going on there. Here is a little V neckline with a facing. You saw that I interfaced extra in there. You can't see it, but I can tell the structure is there. And the banded collar. Now, I will also link for you a specific video on this channel only about sewing banded collars. You'll get more tips there. This is my little sleeve. Now, this sleeve is supposed to be 2 inches longer. I just wanted mine short, so I just made it 2 inches shorter. But in essence, it's the same. I've got the beautiful gathers here. I knew they were going to stand out with the cotton lawn, so it was intentional. Sometimes I choose flowy fabrics like rayon for gathering details. Sometimes I don't. It just depends on the fabric and if I want to highlight the feature. I did want to highlight this. And plus it's not huge. It's not like a huge puff feature. It's very delicate, very nice. The rest is super simple. I've got really discreet bust studs that you can't even see there. They just blend into the print. Very nice, simple hem. You know, once I was done with the shoulders and the neckline, the banded collar, all the rest was side seams, hems, putting on those sleeves. It was very, very simple afterwards. So I don't have any styling options other than jeans. This is my first version of the Muse Blouse from Love Notions. This is a size large with a standard bust option. I have the original length of the blouse. I really like it like this. It's hitting my mid-hip. This is a tana cotton lawn from Liberty. Amazingly soft, super basic styling because I barely have any clothes. So denim, can't go wrong. Check out the nice comfy ease. Super nice. You can just pull it on over your head and you're not going to be uncomfortable. Very nice. There's also another version that's a little shorter with the casing where you can put an elastic in here at the bottom as well, but I just decided to do this one regular. Just keep it simple, let the fabric shine here. Check out this amazing neckline, banded collar there with a little V. It's got a little facing top stitch there. I have an extra layer of interfacing on the main part of this V as well as with the facing. It just makes it sturdier. Sometimes the weight of the collar could make this flop a little bit if you're working with lightweight fabric. So in a rayon, that would be especially important, but I thought this tana cotton lawn could also benefit. Extra structure here, just nice and crisp. I have the sleeve option, have slight gathers here on the top, the casing and the elastic. I did make mine 2 inches shorter because I wanted short sleeves. The original sleeve would have been around at the elbow. I think the cotton lawn showcases this beautifully, and check out how I match the print right there. Little details no one will notice, but I'm happy I made the effort right there. My bust dart on the side is 1¼ inches lower. This neckline, what can I say, is just amazingly beautiful. That banded collar is always classic. I show you how to do that in the video. The little slit in the middle, gorgeous as well. Neatly finished with a facing. The V is not deep at all. I can be free, move around and be comfortable. I'm not showing anything actually. I love it with jeans. When I picked this fabric, I always knew jeans were going to be a great option. Also, the jeans are nice and fitted at the waist, the hips, the upper thighs, so it goes beautifully with this design that has a little bit more ease. I feel balanced. Replace this for a denim skirt, or my amazing white denim skirt would be also great looks. Clothes I have back home in Brazil, I would have paired this with as well. Love how this turned out. I could have styled this many ways if I was back home, but you just get to see it on with jeans. Loved making it. I'm in the middle of making my second version, which is going to be completely different. So don't miss out on the next episode about my second version of the Muse. If I had time, I would make 10 of these. The design is just so inspiring. It's just so pretty. You want to make them all. And yeah, I'm going to get 2 at least. Had to choose the fabric. Very hard. Happy with this version. It's amazing. I know I'm going to really enjoy this for years to come. The fabric quality, amazing. It's just such a great fabric, and I think the pairing to the style was really spot on in my opinion. I love how it turned out. Don't forget that the Muse is brand new and it's on sale through next Monday the 16th. See you in the next episode where you'll see my second version. The fabric choice, what to say, is going to be amazing. And you know, you never know what it could be. It could be a blouse, it could be a dress. You'll see.